Fellas, in today's video, I'm going to be trying to become a Lego designer. Since the age of 9, all that I've ever wanted to do was work for Lego. The only slight issue is that I have absolutely no creative talent, and I'm completely incompetent at building custom sets. So I've given myself 7 days to see if I have what it takes to become a Lego designer. This video took absolutely ages to make, so if you do enjoy it, then please do consider subscribing, because that would really help me out, and it would show everybody just how cool I am. Alright, so it's day 1 now. I kind of just want to see today what my building level is at the moment. I'm going to try and build a car. A car is one of the most simplistic Lego builds. It's 4 wheels, some glass, and an exhaust. Pretty simple, right? So under here, this is where I keep all of my Lego boxes. You can see it's perfectly organized. There's no mess under here. I'm not really sure how this is going to go, but I've got some wheels, and I've also got some red bricks, because I'm going to try and build a red car. Here we go, guys. Subscribe. I'm going to be honest with you. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. In my mind, I thought, oh, hey, you know, cars are pretty simple, right? Alright, so I've been building for about 10-15 minutes now, and I think I've come up with something pretty epic, I would say. It's a Tesla, as you can see. It looks pretty good if you don't have eyes. Yeah, I mean, there's no way to get around it. It looks terrible. I think I'm gonna need a bit of help to try and get me on my way a bit. So, I went to the most helpful place that I could think of. Twitter. Yeah, I chose Twitter. And classic, Twitter being Twitter, everybody was just so kind, warm, and supportive. You really love to see it. So, I decided to do some research. I watched several videos about the ins and outs of actually getting started with making a MOC to get a better idea of what I was actually supposed to do. And after about an hour or so of making these notes, there were 3 main things that people just kept mentioning. Building on existing sets, plagiarism, and just giving up. And thus, with dozens of suggestions and ideas, it was time for day 2. Alright, so it's day 2 now, and one of the things that a lot of people have been saying is to use other sets as sort of like a starting point. So what I want to try and do today is actually have a look at trying to build the car again and see what's going to happen. Alright, so the car that I want to try and build off of is the Ghost Rider car, because it could pretty easily be changed into any sort of car model, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna give this a go. And once more, I literally jumped right into the build. Or, as it's known in some circles, plagiarism. This is the remains of the Ghost Rider car. It's just in pieces. And, I came up with this car here. Looks pretty pog-champ. Honestly, if I compare this to yesterday, I think that I've improved quite a substantial amount, honestly. But what's more, I asked Twitter for their opinions on my build. Hey everybody, we've got ourselves a comedian here. Look at the funny guy doing the funny thing. Oh man, you really are a jokester. I think it's safe to say that vehicles really aren't my strong suit. So, day 3 now. One of the things that I want to do during these 7 days is build one big MOC. So, I have my notes board here. I've also got a section there about MOC ideas. And as you can see, I've got the Tournament of Elements, which is kind of an idea that I've had for a little while now. So here's the Tournament of Elements set, and basically my idea is to get a couple more of these and sort of combine them to one another. I was also kind of thinking that I could have like a base plate and actually build a base, which is something that I've kind of been trying to learn. I experimented with 2 types of floor. The first being more of a sort of like crack design where the parts are just being laid out, and also a more sleek design where I basically just built a wall and put it on its side. It's complicated for no reason. Alright, so after about half an hour of building, I've come up with 2 designs for the floor. The first one over here is kind of just like cracks with all the pieces are kind of just loose. It doesn't look that great, to be honest with you. And then the other design here is just basically I just built a wall which is the right dimensions to just kind of fit into this little box that I've built. I think it's safe to say that one of these was substantially better than the other. But now it was time to get started on the huge Tournaments of Elements MOC. Now initially I'd planned to get 3 more of these sets, but that turned out to be way too expensive, so I drove to the land of the single and I picked up 2. Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So of course I decided to get the 2 Tournament of Elements sets. I now own 3 Bilobos, which is fantastic. Financially, was this a good idea? No, not at all. I would not recommend this to anybody. On the plus side, I'm going to be able to build a pretty cool MOC, so you got to weigh it up. Alright, so my plan now is basically to just build these 2 sets and just see how all 3 of them look together on a base plate. Basically, on the side of the builds, I swapped out the mixel joint for the complementary one, which allows the adjacent Tournaments of Elements to connect, and honestly, I was pretty impressed with the outcome. That actually looks really nice. I think it looks really good just all together. And whilst, yes, this did look really nice nice and work really great together. It's kind of just 3 sets shoved together. So I moved on to day 5. Day 5 was just more of a trial and error day with combining the sets. Because I'd learned how to build floors earlier, that's something that I really wanted to incorporate, but it would have meant that the entire building would have had to be elevated 1 or 2 blocks higher, which basically meant that any time I so much as looked at the build, it just completely collapsed. But now I believe I've come up with something that I'm pretty proud of thus far. So after about an hour or so of building and just kind of jumping into it, this is what I've come up with. I've got the 2 combined on this side here, and then I've got the stairs going down in the middle, but I think this sort of design works really well, so I'm very excited to continue this tomorrow because I have nothing better to do with my time. Please subscribe. Alright, so it's day 6 now. Today I kind of just want to jump back into it. Yeah, let's see how this goes. So what I've actually done is I've put all of the unused parts and just put them in this bag here. I want to try and use as many of these as I can because otherwise it would be quite a big waste of my money. So then I got to building. The first order of business was fixing up the stairs. I decided to add a railing design where the bar pieces are connected to 2 clips diagonally. As well, I've tiled this whole thing here. I like these parts a lot because you can actually put minifigures on them. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how this is going. I'm gonna get back to just building and going with the flow. In the show, one of the major features is Chen's chair. So far, this is kind of what I've come up with. It's very heavily inspired by this picture, and I think this is looking pretty good so far. So my plan is to kind of just put it up here and it be like the headpiece of the entire set. So it was time to install the chair. The issue with this was that the ledge just wasn't big enough to fit Chen's chair and minifigures onto it. This meant that I had to expand it ever so slightly, as well as add a back wall to make sure that the chair didn't just completely, you know, collapse. Alright, so I just did a bit of modification off camera, and I think I've come up with something that kind of works a bit better. I also expanded the bottom floors to allow slightly more room for minifigures to pose. This, of course, meant that I had to move the staircase over so that the details could actually be seen on this floor. And honestly, I was pretty pleased with the result at the end of day 6, but there still remained one detail that I really wanted to add. Today is the last day that I have to get as good as I can at building. Alright, so I need to grab my minifigures first of all. This is where I keep all my Ninjago minifigures. There they are. I do believe that I actually have quite a few Anaconda Warriors. So after sorting through my minifigures, it was time to add them in. Here are all the minifigures that I want to use. That's quite a lot of them. One piece of advice that I'd read on day 1 about building mocks was to place each minifigure so that it's in some sort of scene. And well, I'm pretty happy with the end result. So on the stairs, we've got an Anaconda Warrior running up, trying to fight Lloyd and Kai at the same time. And then at the top of the stairs, we've got the Master of Smoke trying to get these 2 Anaconda Warriors from getting grabbish. And then next to that, we've got Zane and Cole, who are currently trying to get to Master Chen. And to the right of that, we've got 2 more Anaconda Warriors who are going to fight Jay, who is currently on a banister, just shooting lightning at them. And then also hanging onto the banister, we have Garmadon, the Master of Shadow, and Izor. Overall, I'd say that going from this to this is a pretty huge improvement. But hey, LEGO, if you ever need an unqualified 16-year-old loner with no friends to come and head your multi-billion-dollar corporation, then you know where to find me.